Growing concerns in Ohio after so-called controlled chemical burn following a recent train derailment. Government initially evacuated everyone within a mile radius of that town. Now says it's safe to return, but residents, on the other hand, are reporting sightings of dead fish and animals everywhere and chemicals being in the soil, as well as people getting sick. Let's bring in Iowa Congresswoman Dr. Mariannette Miller-Meeks. Nice to see you, Congresswoman. The EPA says everything's fine. You're a doctor. If you lived near East Palestine, Ohio, would you drink the water there?
Well, I think if the water's been appropriately tested, and I think both tested there and then even into West Virginia, as you know, Governor Jim Justice has had comments about the water there, and the water has felt safe. So I think that perhaps that what I would do is, number one, I'm not there on the ground, and I think depends on what you smell, depends on what you're looking at. So whether you're looking at, the dead fish within the water, if they're continued, or if this was old from when the incident first occurred. So remember, the derailment was on February 3rd, and then you had the containment, the efforts at containment, and then controlled burn, and that was February 6th, and then I think people were allowed back in February 8th. I think that's right. The timeline that we're looking at. The EPA, as you know, has been there. They have tested both water and air. They have said that they haven't, tested levels of chemical that would be concerning. And of the homes, I think there's 181 homes that are left. So, I probably would want to test my water myself. I think it's fair to discuss, whether or not the guidance is appropriate, whether or not they had a long enough time where they were evacuated. I think all of that is appropriate. And you're right, the chemicals that have been released, number one, first we knew about was vinyl chloride and then phosphogene. But when the EPA got the manifest, we found out that there were other chemicals that are concerning, and that's, butyl acrylate, ethyl hexylacrylate, isobutylene. So these chemicals are concerning. They can be carcinogens, but, we don't know how much contact, what level of contact, and if it's in the air and how long it lingers in the air. But if you're not able to test any of the chemical, you would think that would be safe, even though it would not surprise me that people have irritated eyes and they can still smell something. But definitely this needs to have ongoing monitoring.
I got two more questions. I only got about 2 minutes to get to them. So I want to, this question is about the EPA, the Transportation Secretary, and various parts of government. They're all concentrating on doing this left-wing extremism stuff and not doing the job they were hired to do. We've got train derailments everywhere. We've got our water supplies, our food supplies being challenged. Can the Republicans do anything to make these government agencies do what they're supposed to do?
Well, they certainly can have oversight, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. The Transportation Secretary should have made comments about this train derailment, given the size of the derailment with 50 cars, 10 of those cars carrying chemicals that have the ability to combust and to create an explosion on their own versus the controlled, containment and fire. But, there should have been some comment from the Secretary of Transportation about the train derailment. No question about it.
Well,
but the EPA is
he's
there,
concerned. He's concerned about too many white people. Yeah, he's concerned about too many white people on construction sites to pay attention to doing his job.
He made a comment on things, but not the train derailment. And so I think it's appropriate to kind of hold his feet to the fire. And to make sure that the federal government is appropriately involved in, addressing this, addressing cleanup, and then making sure that both water and air are safe for individuals who live there.
Well, Congresswoman, Texas Senator Ted Cruz, in the meantime, is announcing an investigation into DirecTV's censorship of this network. Cruz promising accountability and transparency. When will the House of Representatives convene a hearing on the activities of AT&T and DirecTV as it pertains to, by the way, I got to point out, they get taxpayer funding into these companies. When will they hold a hearing as to the activities as it pertains to Newsmax?
So as you know, the House Oversight Committee has already started hearings on social media companies. So looking at this broader context of media and media censorship or social media deplatforming, I think, when you're concerned about speech, the answer is not to suppress speech or to censor speech. The The answer is more speech. As we know, there was a fairness doctrine years ago that ending the fairness doctrine led to Rush Limbaugh and other individuals on talk radio being able to come to the forefront. We need more voices, and people have the ability to turn the channel or turn off the the radio, the TV, or streaming if they don't like certain content. So to me, free speech is critically important. More voices is the answer, not less voices.
And very quickly, have you been given a date for a hearing on this matter?
I'm not on the House Oversight Committee, but to my knowledge, there has not been a date set for that. We're right now in recess for this week and the following week. But those hearings are ongoing, and I know that this is a topic that is extremely important to the House Oversight Committee, as well as other committees will be looking into that.
Congresswoman Mariannette Miller-Meeks, thank you very much. Appreciate your time and our truncated time today.